What's up, everybody? It's Keith at Vitality Sports Solutions. Today, we're talking program design. It's a little bit of a longer video than we've been doing in the past. So please try to watch as much of it as possible. I think it'll benefit you greatly if you do. Over the past year and a half or so, I've been putting out a lot of quick, short videos with a little bit of tips you can add into your programs here and there. But today I want to go over kind of the entire program design piece that the program that we follow here at Vitality Sports Solutions. So if you're ready for that, let's get into it. If you're not already following the channel, please like and subscribe, and feel free to comment if you have any questions or concerns. We're happy to go over that with you. All right, but let's get into our program design video starting now. All right, so all of our workouts always start with a warm-up, some form of soft tissue work, so foam rolling. Then we get into some static stretching and some joint mobility stuff. Every once in a while, we will throw in FMS correctives if need be, but not everybody always needs those, and sometimes a little bit more of a general approach just works better. So we're always doing, like I said, some kind of soft tissue. So we're going to foam roll. We'll use a lacrosse ball or like a bigger trigger point ball. We'll get into some static stretching, and it's usually the same few static stretches, just hitting the general areas that most people need. So we'll do some incline pigeon. We'll do some couch stretch. We'll do some band shoulder capsule stuff and lat stretches, and then we'll get right into the dynamic stuff. That's usually done walking. There's a series of about 8 to 12 movements that we'll do, and we'll go through it really quick, getting about 8 to 10 reps of everything. And like I said, we do it walking, so we start to increase some tissue temperature while we're doing that dynamic warm-up. From there, we like to do some activation stuff. Generally, if I'm here, I'm doing crossover symmetry first for shoulders, and I have a whole sequence that I do there, about 6 exercises. But if you don't have the crossover symmetry, I would just grab any kind of band, and you can start by doing some dislocates, and then some pull-aparts, right? When I get those shoulders kind of turned on it and ready to rock. As soon as the shoulders are done, we'll throw a hip circle, so a little band that goes around both legs, and there's 3 different movements I do with that. I walk backwards, we do some semicircles, and then we do some lateral band walk. So basically just some low-level glute activation stuff, just to, again, kind of increase tissue temperature, try to get you loosened up a little bit before we get into the power / plyometric stuff. Not everybody will be doing plyometrics, but we will be doing some form of power with everybody. That could be kettlebell swings, it could be med ball throws and slams, it could be some battle rope stuff. So depending on the client, we will do some power. If they're needing some form of jump training, which most people can benefit from, then we'll do some. And it could be box jumps, lateral medial hops, bounding, just it's going to vary dependent on the fitness level of the client. But that's happening after the warm-up stuff, power plyometrics. From there, we get right into the strength training. Generally, it's going to be, a tri-set, which is 3 exercises done kind of in a mini circuit, paired with either another tri-set or a superset. Superset is just 2 exercises paired together. So generally that's what we're going to do. And we train total body here. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I see clients, once, twice, 3 times a week. So I want to try to hit as much of the body as possible in those workouts. So it's usually going to be a core, an upper body push, and then a knee dominant exercise. And that next tri-set will either have another core element to it, depending on what we did in the first one. Then it'll have a hinge and a pull, right? So we're always doing a push and a pull. We're always doing a knee dominant and a hip dominant. Most of the time, it's going to be unilateral, meaning we're doing one side at a time. Occasionally, we will throw some bilateral stuff in. I still like to do glute-focused 45-degree hypers. I like to do hip thrusts, and I like to do trap bar deadlifts. I'm not opposed to barbell bench press, but that's about it for the bilateral stuff on the upper body. Anytime we're pushing and pulling, it's going to be with dumbbells or kettlebells, and it's going to be single arm. Only caveat is going to be chin-ups. We do a ton of chin-ups. But that's it. We keep it very, very basic. As soon as we wrap up the strength stuff, if there's time, we'll get into some conditioning. That could be Tabata ball slams, it could be slide board, just whatever. It could be sprints, whatever we have time for, we'll get into. So just to get a little bit of conditioning in at the end, but it's always dependent upon time. And then that's pretty much it. We don't do much of a cool down just because we try to fit as much actual work in that 60-minute period. So we don't really leave time for a cool down. I always ask my clients to stretch and do some more foam rolling at the end if they have time, but if they don't, out the door they go. That's why we focus so much on the warm up. That's where we're getting all of our asymmetries checked and worked on and trying to improve any kind of mobility issues, flexibility limitations. We try to address all of that in the warm up, and then it's just all go from there. So that's what a workout will look like. Now let's talk a little bit more about how we program, our actual linear progressions. All right, so onto the programming piece. We generally work in 3 to 4 week blocks. 4 is being loose. It's pretty much always a 3-week block. A lot of my exercises, there's a phase 1, a phase 2, and a phase 3. So you would be doing, the phase 1 exercises for 3 weeks. Then we advance to the phase 2 for 3 weeks, and then phase 3. And you can always kind of come back and start over. So most of the programming is based off of that 9-week window. Now, not every exercise has a phase 1, 2, and a 3. And sometimes there's little regressions and progressions in between, but being very general, it's a 3-week block. We progress through phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. So for example, for a core exercise, phase 1 would be that kneeling Swiss ball rollout. Phase 2 would be the ab dolly. Phase 3 would be the ab wheel. So 3 weeks at each, but it depends on the person, right? Sometimes you need to spend a little bit more time on one than the other. So, you have to be flexible in that regard, but generally that's how it's going to go. 9 weeks, and then we start over. Sometimes you're starting back over at a phase 1. Sometimes you're starting over at phase 2. Like I said, it's very individualized and dependent on what the client needs. That's not the same for group workouts. Group workouts, everybody's generally doing the same thing. The individualized component comes with the warm-up stuff. Everybody's going to have their own FMS score, so they'll have their own correctives to work on, and they'll have time to do that. Obviously, loading is different for every person, but we're all going to generally follow the same program in that group setting. So that's really it. Our workouts always start with a warm-up, mobility, some stretching, some dynamic stuff, into the power and plyometrics, into the strength, and then conditioning at the end. And we base it off of 3-week blocks or phases. So phase 1, a phase 2, and phase 3. Each phase is going to be 3 weeks. There are occasions where it's a 4-week cycle, but for the most part, that's it. We keep it very, very basic. In those 3-week blocks, I didn't mention it earlier, the exercises stay the same. The loading and percentages are different, but the exercises stay the same. So you can make some progress, but usually by the end of week 3, most people are ready to move on to something else. So that's where we change up all the kind of accessory exercises that go along with our big lifts, like our split squats or rear foot elevated split squats or dumbbell bench press, deadlifts and so on. But that's it. We keep it very, very basic. So you're able to make progress without overthinking everything. It's linear. So we're always getting stronger, always getting better. And it's worked out great for us here. So that's it for our programming piece. Remember, if you're not already doing so, please like, subscribe, follow the channel, and comment below if you have questions. This is just a very general look at our programming. I'm happy to do a deeper dive if anybody has more questions on how they can implement our program into their workouts. We're happy to help. All right. Thanks, everybody.